When we think of the discovery of what is now the Port of Los Angeles, we credit Juan Cabrillo, who many people don't realize actually we don't have proof that he walked the land and spent any significant amount of time here, but he did survey it from the deck of his ship, and he commented that it would be a fine harbor. The area that we now know as the port today was virtually unrecognizable centuries ago. It was populated by Native American peoples, agriculturally based people, and it was a very shallow, muddy area with sandbars and an island right in the middle of what would be the main harbor.
Great.
In 1781, the city of Los Angeles was founded, and then about that time, the rancho system really takes off in this area, and one of the major trade items are hides. And of course, the hides had to be shipped out of this port, and that was a very difficult thing to do given the shallow and undeveloped nature of the port. First serious dredging would be around 1871, when the main channel is dredged to 10 feet, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it negated the problem of the sandbar. Various dredging operations through the years would widen and deepen the main channel, always accommodating larger and larger ships, more goods and more people through the port. April 1899 was about the biggest barbecue San Pedro had ever seen. 20,000 people showed up and celebrated, the highlight being the dropping of the first boulders to what would become the federal breakwater. Between 1913 and 1916 was a very significant addition to Terminal Island, and that was the creation of Fish Harbor. And this was a sheltered area meant specifically to accommodate the fishing industry. So here would be the home for the canneries and the fishing fleet, and actually the full-time home for most of the Japanese fishermen. And Fish Harbor would eventually host the largest fishing fleet in the nation. Some of the major physical changes in the harbor, in addition to construction of the various breakwaters, was the removal of Dead Man's Island. By the late 1920s, it was pretty obvious that Dead Man's Island was a real impediment to harbor development. And so blasting began. The island was eventually removed. By 1932, it was completely gone. And then the boulders that were created from this blasting action were used to help increase the acreage of Terminal Island. What's really distinctive about the Port of Los Angeles is the way it is always physically evolving. It's a man-made port. Islands disappear, other islands are made larger. And it's interesting from a historic standpoint, if you are going to rely on certain physical landmarks all the time, they're not always going to be there.